Josh, Murtz Jaffer here. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good, very good. I want to start by taking you back to last week. Can you walk me through Julie's eviction? You and Julie seemed so close, but on eviction day, it seemed like you were her biggest enemy. What happened?
Well, I knew it. Well, initially, Julie was always the plan, and then I tried to pivot that plan, and it wasn't working. So then I just said, it's her or me. I'd rather it be her, I guess. So then just kind of like said her name really fast to everybody, and then all of a sudden the house flipped in 2 hours. And it was Julie walking out that door as the first house guest to leave, unfortunately. And then we went right into the next HOH challenge.
How much did Julie's eviction and its aftermath play a role in what happened to you this week?
It's a great question. I think no matter what, Julie was being voted out last week. Like
Mhm.
there just like wasn't like really a saving grace that anyone was willing to do. No one wanted to make like moves or do anything just yet. So, and then just kind of with how everything specifically played out and the alliances that had started forming,
Mhm.
like I don't think with like Austin winning HOH, um, even like there was it just like there wasn't really going to be some like a different outcome
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
like who was on the block. It was like pretty obvious. The only thing I was hoping for is that she'd put up Roe and Kiefer, but like
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
made a good game move for herself and putting me up rather than both of them simultaneously.
You initially sort of went up and threw Latoya's name out to Julie, sort of blaming Latoya, like Latoya's the one throwing your name out. What was the rationale behind telling Julie that?
If that's how that came across, it's not like what I was trying to say. I was trying to say like we were all like kind of like yeah, and then Julie just kept pressing me for a name. So it was like Latoya was the first one to say it, but we were all
Mhm.
thinking
Mhm.
it. So I was not trying to throw Latoya under the bus. Like I didn't want to do that at all. Um, but then Julie ran with it, took it spun it around, spun it on its head, and then I felt some heat from that.
You know, you seemed very cerebral on the show. We haven't really seen a player like you on the show before. You seem to sort of stay on the fringes, play on the periphery of the game, and it's a game that's very social. Is this how you are in real life, or was it just this situation where you couldn't really seem to connect with the majority?
Um, I I am pretty cerebral to myself. Like that's just like a part of who I am. But I am social. Like I'm a pretty social person. Like I do like to be around. Well, not right now, but I do like to be around people and to chat with people and build friendships. But like I'm just like much more interested in like deeper, more meaningful
Mhm.
connections rather than like what a lot of people in the game are doing is like a lot of the surface level connections and just talking about like the lowest common denominator topics that like people can like kind of agree on or
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
have some sort of input. And I'm not the best at navigating those situations because I just find it the same conversation over and
Mhm.
over again.
Mhm.
So I want to have like more thought provoking or like emotionally impactful conversations. So that might have hurt me a little in the game.
I want to talk about the pitch to Jed and how it sort of backfired on you and turned into this house meeting. What was your plan and why didn't it work?
My plan was to get Jed suspicious. I was planning on using Jed. I knew he was going to be one of like the bigger players that people would follow this eviction.
Mhm.
So my plan was to use Jed and to point out to him like, hey, you should be aware of people that like blow smoke up your behind to inflate your ego because they're using that as a ploy to manipulate you. And then I was just trying to plant some seeds of doubt as like my first step before getting too deep into like my next step. But his reaction to our initial conversation, which in person seemed very calm, but the second we were done that conversation, I honestly could not tell you what was going through his head and how any of that played out smart for him. I think he was embarrassed after the fact of what had happened. And then the meeting brought to light a lot of lies and deceit that people weren't necessarily ready to admit to. And to try to save everybody's game, they all kind of ganged up on me, which that's a part of the game. I'm happy that I was the one to take it because I don't know if the other house guests are quite as strong as I am and would be able to handle that sort of situation. And I think, yeah, Jed's blow up will bite him in the long term as people realize like he's a very emotional player.
And just a couple of more questions. Were there any showmances in the house that you saw?
Beth was trying to get in with Ty. She was trying to get in with Jed. She was just, I couldn't be around it. It freaked me right out. She'd be like aggressively flirting with them both in front of each other. It made me feel like I needed to leave the room whenever it was happening around me. And then I also wouldn't be surprised if like Kyla and Austin eventually had like a little like peck.
Sounds good. Do you believe it's more important for a Big Brother Canada player to be an excellent solo strategist or an excellent social player in a game that is primarily social?
That's a great question. As a solo strategist that got evicted second, it might be more important to be social, at least for the first few weeks until the numbers are slimmer. Would recommend that.
And just two more. You told Arissa that you had a bit of a meltdown on day 3 in your final eviction interview. What happened, and was that the reason you became a sort of a lone wolf in the game?
Yes, that was the reason I became a bit of a lone wolf. Honestly, like it had a lot to do with just things bigger than the game that I had not prepared to think about. And it was just like a buildup of like a lot of emotion all at once. And like that's just kind of it, and it just kind of blew up my game.
And last question, now that the house's #1 target is gone, the cerebral, like Josh is out of the way, how do you think things are going to play out from here? They don't have you to target anymore.
When I said in my speech, I can't wait for the bloodbath to ensue, I meant it. That house is going to split up like crazy.
Amazing. Josh, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much. Good luck. Hopefully our paths will cross in the future.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.